being my life, my choice. The changing dynamics in the life of a woman. How wonderful is that? My life, my choice. First of all, I would like to say that do you think that this is little arrogant that we are saying my life, my choice? Because a lot of times when we say this, we are saying, oh, you know, as a woman, you're being self-centered. You're being selfish. It's not just your life and only your choice. The choices actually revolve around the people who are in your inner circle. Am I correct? I'll begin with you, Himika.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for making it. It's my first time in Nagpur. Overwhelmed to be here. It's a beautiful city from the very little I've been able to see. And of course, the buzz of this literature festival is so fantastic. I thank the authorities for having me here. Thanks, Monica. We had a chat earlier, just to discuss what. So to come to your question, I mean, there are two ways of looking at this, really. I mean, when I came here, I thought that I am going to say, put yourself first. Now your question puts me in a spot. Because you see, it's years and years and years and centuries, actually, of, how our minds have been trained to think that you have to put yourself at the very end so as to be happy and to keep others around you happy. And it's only when others around you are happy that you can be truly happy. Now, that's a very, very noble way of looking at life. That is possibly how our grandmothers, how our mothers even looked at life. And if you were to ask them even today, I think their joy emanates from the fact that, say for my mother, it would be that, oh, my daughter is so successful and I had a role to play in that. And in the process, maybe she gave up the things that she wanted to do. So I think there's a point in not being belligerent about it and saying my life, my rules, I'll do it the way I want to do, because that's not how anything can work. I mean, that's not how society can work. That's not how a family can work. That's not, I mean, even at work, where we have the most impersonal relationships, even then you can't say, my life and my rules and I'll do what I want to do, because there's a structure and there's a structure everywhere. And I think what really defines it is the balance that we are able to find between saying my life, my rules, and how can I put that in perspective and take everybody together. I think that is, I am not a feminist from any angle, never have been. Like to think of myself as a humanist. I don't know if there's a term like that. But, the whole point is to be humane. And in that space, however, to be able to find, that little path for yourself, which is only your path, And while you walk that path to ensure, like you said, to take the loved ones along or those who matter and to make that work. I think that balance is key, and as long as that balance is there, I think it's not very difficult to live my life my way while keeping everybody happy and being happy yourself.
Era of aggressive feminism is completely over. It's now an era of inclusivity, and that male toxicity is all going out of the window. So it's an era of women now, and women who have always so-called symbolized compassion and healing, and that's the only way forward for the world now. I think that's basically my viewpoint. And also, since it's about inclusivity, we've always had it in India, only I think we overlooked it, just the symbol of Ardhanareshwar, which has both male and female, the image. It's always been imprinted on our mind, but I think we fail to perceive it. So that's all
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be back, second year here. So I completely agree with both the ladies, except that I have another perspective. I just think it might sound woo-woo, but I think of it as a soul journey. I don't think of it as a male or a female thing at all. Never have thought of it like that. And the way I was raised also, we always were told that, it's a soul journey, and it's a S-O-L-E and a S-O-U-L. So it's a solo journey as well. So when we perceive ourselves as on this path to our greater evolution, it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. You just have to be in touch with who you basically are inside. And then all that outside becomes a chatter. Sometimes it's a jargon, sometimes it's intellect, sometimes it's something very interesting, sometimes it's something which is new. At the end of the day, it's just a little thing inside which is called your purpose. And if you get in touch with your purpose, everything falls into place. Then you don't get into diatribes about feminism, about non-feminism, about, about the, it doesn't go from here, it's here. So as a woman in this lifetime, I look at it as a soul woman and a solo woman. And I feel I've always made choices which resonated with me personally, even though I may have hurt my parents, I may have hurt my husband, I may have hurt my children. But at the end of the day, is like we all know, हम लोग plane में जाते हैं तो कहते हैं ना, पहले अपना mask पहनो, फिर दूसरों को help करो. Now, if you're not masked yourself, if you're a feeble soul, if you're a unconnected, disconnected soul, आप किसको help करेंगे? Do you think you can be a good mother if you are not in touch with your purpose, why you're here on earth? It's a very short journey. If you're not, then are you a good partner? Are you a good child? Are you a good parent? Nothing. So I think the whole thing is about myself as a woman, my journey, my choices. It's to do with this little thing here, which most of us have not been taught to connect with, because our education system has never taught us to go here, it's taught us to go here. But the whole trip is here. So Generation Z, if you can really know that the whole path is here, and you don't have to listen to anybody saying anything in the world. If you are in touch with the truth of who you are, your life is going to just be a picnic.
Okay, that was interesting. I think there's a bit of a contradiction there, so we will think about it and talk about it again. Changing dynamics, I would say, I do feel personally at the age of 57, I've also gone through various phases of life, and I do feel there definitely has been a change in the structure and the roles that a woman plays today in our society. And the dynamics have changed, or they have not changed. Because a lot of times when we speak at these platforms of the women entrepreneurship forums, they say that at the end of the day, the scenario at home and at the workplace is still the same. I'm not very sure of that. I would request you to put some light on that, because I myself am confused. Because when we say that we are going 10 steps forward in the office environment, yes, the dynamics have changed. The women are being more assertive. They are being, I would say, more conscientious of their rights, and they won't take much nonsense from their colleagues. We are seeing the change. At home, perhaps the housewife is being more vocal about what she feels and says. On the other hand, the perspective is that at the end of the day, the bottom line is that the male has the upper hand, and the dynamics that we perceive are changing, and women are being more assertive is little superficial. Do you think I'm correct about that?
Okay, so, this is very interesting what you just brought up, because I think it's a mix of both. And now, given that I'm saying for all my answers, I'm like a little here and a little there, people will be like, oh, she's like totally confused. But I really do think that it's a mix of both. I think we are in I like to call myself the cusp generation in that sense. And I'm 45 years old and married 16 years. And I think that, the men, so I'm just first going to talk about the home part of it, right? So the men we got married to or are married to are people who've seen their mothers mostly being, homemakers with complete and total dedication and concentration on the, towards the family. I mean, they've, so to say, had nothing much beyond of that. Many of them. I mean, I wouldn't like to say that it's 100%, but a large chunk, let's say 80% of women, going back some 30 years, were at home doing things. And I'm talking about normal middle class families, I mean, which is the largest part of India, really. And, so therefore they've grown up with seeing that, looking at the woman of the house, completely dedicating herself to the family and the home. And then by the time they came out and started dating people or not dating people or getting into marriages per se, whichever way it may have happened, they've gotten married to women who are now out, working, where at least 50% of their life, at least in terms of time, is invested elsewhere, So for them, I think coming into that understanding of the fact that if I have somebody at home who is also going to be out working and she may not come and be able to make the meal, that understanding of it is now slowly and gradually, building up. That consciousness, I think, is growing. And I feel, and I'm very, very hopeful that by the time the boys who are now young and are seeing these families, which are essentially, families of joint efforts between the husband and the wife, which is slowly, slowly happening and growing. And I don't know if Dipankar here will agree. I don't know if you do anything at home. I think you do. But the kids who are growing up now, I think they will be far more open to the idea of shared responsibility, which I think it all emanates it's all interlinked, because the kind of support you get at home finally translates into the kind of success you can get at work. Because, it is a lot about I'm going to be out traveling, and is it going to become a huge concern? Or, there is this promotion and I'm going to be spending 3 more hours at work. Is it going to become a huge concern at home to the point that peace is lost and then you think, let's just let it be, So I think that, that cusp, I think that's why I said I call myself the cusp generation. I think, we are just there. We're just there where the support both in the home front and therefore translating at the work front is just about happening. And I think that it'll take another 10 years perhaps, or 15 years perhaps, when India is finally, I think, when, yeah.
Just before Ruchika, you go on, how many of you have both the parents working in the house? Both parents working. Okay. So I think you can identify with what she's saying, right? And Ruchika.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
My mother would have been 93 today, and she was working from the time she was, she studied after marriage and started working immediately.
Right.
But the only difference is they used to have definite timings of working. Like my mother was a professor in university, and her colleagues were, many of them were professors, some were teachers in school, and very few, as you said, were doctors or CEOs or that demanding jobs.
Yes.
The only difference is that they were also working.
Exactly.
Days,
Yeah.
But they had definite timings, and she would leave the house at 9:30, come back definitely at 5 o'clock.
That I think has, yes, that has changed, yes.
That has changed.
And on a very lighter note, actually, men may not agree with me, but I think it's the women who train the men.
I agree.
So, for our generation, we are not the cusp generation. We've married into women who are working. So, to a large extent, we know what we've got into, and we would like to believe we are equal. And it takes time. Obviously, it takes time to get into that act of not expecting your wife to come back from work and then cook dinner. So it takes time, but you get used to the fact that your wife has trained you in a certain way, that if there's no help available, food has to be ordered out. So you better be prepared for it. Similarly, in case of childcare as well, if the child has to be brought into this world, you better be ready for childcare as well. Otherwise, be my guest to stay at home and be a stay-at-home father. So I think it's also to a large extent of how you let your wife make certain decisions. Now that has what I believe has changed in at least the cities. I can't comment about the rural area.
The women are smiling and the guys have no reaction.
The men are like, oh my God. Yes, that's what I was saying, that we are the cusp generation and now, it will
But
change from
if I can add here, the thinking is changing because women are talking also. Women earlier were like shamed into silence. Things like the Me Too movement, though people say, why didn't people talk? They're bringing out these stories of 20 years ago, but earlier they weren't allowed to talk. They're talking now. Stories like mine, stories like her, Susmita's book, they bring out, they help you inhabit another person's life, their choices they make, the pitfalls they get into, but none of them are victims. They may have been victimized, but how they come out of their situations. I think by telling our stories and sharing our suffering and pain, I think the world becomes a better place. You learn empathy and not to pass judgment on the other person.
So I think, like Dipankar said, it is not so gender specific as it is demographic. I work a lot in the villages and they wouldn't agree with this at all. Because they would say, what are you talking about, a CEO going out for dinner and the husband cooks and the wife cooks? What is this? They have no concept. It's a very small section. Obviously, the educated people who are here, they can resonate with it. But the real India, the hinterland where I come from and have been for the last 32 years, they don't understand this. So again, it's not so much about education. I feel in my so many 6 decades of life and work in the arts and whatever I have done, chota, whatever, I just feel that it is really, I come back to the same thing, that it is not so much about binary things, about city or town, about male or female. It's really about to grasp the true nature of your own self. Everything comes into place. If you're taught that, even if you're not taught that, if we manage to teach ourselves this, like, I had to really struggle to get to go to National School of Drama. At 16, I was doing street theatre. Against all odds, my parents would be appalled because I was a smoker. At a very young age, I learned to smoke. It's a smoke screen because, you are trying to come out of something and you don't know where you're coming out into. I wasn't fitting into my middle class mold and I didn't know why I was born to this family and why was I there and why. And I fought and I burst. I don't think I did too badly. I didn't create any revolution. I didn't, burn buses or bras. I didn't do nothing. I just figured out that this is my life, my choice. And I'm happy to be able to sit in front of you people and talk about myself in a genuine way without saying that I'm a woman or I'm a male or this is, though it's relevant. What you're saying is not irrelevant at all. It's a fact. That if Dipankar is as a male or as many males of my own boys and my own husband included, when you see, bhai, ghar pe khana nahi hai, to bana lo. There'll be men who will say, no, why should I? I earn, you also earn, but that's okay, you're a woman, you have to cook. There are lots of dynamics, but things are changing nicely for the city people, for the small town, because of the explosion of digital media. Everybody's seeing everything else. Nothing is as closed as my black and white days or Doordarshan days. Everybody, every child, every young person like you has access to everything in the world with the thousands of, we know everything that's going on in the Amazon rainforest to China, to Shanghai. So we know everything, what's happening in other civilizations, other countries. So with all this noise, chatter, with all these various kinds of choices that you have, and with the attention span, reducing, because itna content hai, kaun kya kare? What am I supposed to know? What am I supposed to see? And as young children, how confused. We had less choices. Na BA karo, MA karo. I went to National School of Drama. So it was a, ek train mein baitho, chale jao. With you people, it's so different. You have, and the children, your daughter's age will be even, inundated with choices. How do you choose if your parents don't know themselves? So do you have to divorce your parents? Surprised? In the sense that how will you do that unless you know yourself? Like I fought and I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but that is not what I want to do. So you have to fight. It is your own access to your own self. Why I keep coming back to that. क्योंकि बाहर बहुत शोर है, बहुत options है, बहुत चीजें, इसका ये, उसका ये, इसकी मम्मी ने ये कहा, उसका. This is too much. But how do you calm down and go to the true essence of who you are? That is where the whole secret is. That is where the secret is. And that is where we have to access. So that is my take.
Yes, I agree with I don't know whether to call her. I don't want to call you Shushmita, ma'am. Can I just call you Shushmita? So I think I completely agree with her on that, on this thing that she's been repeating, which is so correct that unless when we say my life, my rules, now how do you decide what are your rules? That answer can only come from within. When, like she's saying, when you're totally connected, or slowly, and it's a process that happens over time. When we're in our 20s, we think, oh, I'm very connected, I know exactly what I want to do. And by the time you're 40, you're like, oh, hell, I hope I had done English and not economics, which is what I feel. So it takes time for that to evolve, but I think the trick to find what works for you, what is the rule of your life, to be constantly connected to the inside. I think that, it sounds very philosophical, but that is the only way, right? I think that's what you were saying, yeah.
So, coming back to you again, you, I see as the cusp generation, and I think I resonate with that a lot. You also would want to tell us, I guess, now that what really stops us from living life on our own terms. How do we overcome that? Because we are talking to a generation which is, I think, now when they're very early 20s, yes, right? So how do we overcome that? And what are those points that you feel that stop us from living life on our own terms?
Okay, I can already see 15 minutes remaining. So the rules are right there. It's my life, but the rules are there. Yeah, we'll finish quickly, okay? So I think as we spoke through the panel, I think, some of that that I wanted to speak about, and I think I started with that often what stops us is, years and years, and again, like she said, that the answer lies in the connect within. I think the years and years and years of, and that is changing, and changing significantly, because I see a lot of young people these days in their 20s who are so sure, even earlier, 20s is very late they call them the yoke generation, right? So for them, 20s is very, very late.
Why don't you ask them, do they agree with this? All the youngsters here, do you agree that there is a change between what you are thinking and what your mothers were about? Yes? Yes? And
Huge
it's a
change.
positive change.
What is the main change?
What is the main change?
More,
They know what is positive, what is negative.
more confidence? More confidently are you able to say? So I'll just give you, maybe that'll put some perspective. So after I completed my class 12, I was absolutely sure I wanted to do English, like sure as sure can be. And, in Delhi University, one had to, at that time, and now everything is online, but back then in time, one had to, run from college to pick up the forms and, submit them. So it was a process. And at that time, I picked up forms from various colleges and mostly applied for English history. And I didn't know what sociology was back then. I wish I did, because I would have loved to study that. And on my father's insistence, I also filled up for economics, which I was not interested in. But as it would be, by the end of it all, I managed to get English in St. Stephen's College, and that I think is my biggest regret ever. And I got economics in IP College, which is also a nice college, IP College for women. It's almost like a school. They shut the gates the moment the classes begin. And, one was, at that time, one didn't have the strength to say that, no, English is what I want to do. Because when, 10 people sat around me and said that, economics is the way forward, and then you do your MBA and get into corporate life and this and that. And I specifically remember one thing that my dad told me, and I think that was the point that kind of took me away from wanting to do English. He said, if you want to do English, you're not going to get a job, you can only be a trophy wife. So I quickly ran away thinking I don't want to be a trophy wife by just doing English. Let me do economics. But the crux of the story is that at that time, even though I knew, I don't think I had it in me to, connect with my inner self, like she's saying, and to say, no, this is what I want to do. Didn't have the strength. I think that confidence and strength is I think, what is defining this generation. This is what I think. Then, Ruchika.
I think somebody there.
I think it also comes
Wait,
with
one second.
age when
you
you're.
want to say something? Haji. Sorry, Ruchika.
No, I was just saying that it comes with age and conditioning. We've all been conditioned like.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Susmita and I, we just realized we both come from the same school. There was no question of me rebelling. You're raised in a certain way. Our school taught us certain norms, and I thought that is what I needed to follow. And I did exactly that. Got married like a good girl. Didn't get in. I got into JNU. Didn't join JNU because no, shadi karni hai, and rest is history. I have a book about it, so please read it.
Yeah, actually,
It was
you all should read her
dysfunctional
book.
marriages that I was
It's a
put
life
through.
story. It's a true life story, and I think it will be an eye opener. And you all
Yeah.
must read it.
It's- yeah.
There's a lot of courage in that book. Sorry, your question.
Yeah, so, am I audible?
Yes, yes, totally.
Yeah, so my name is Aswa, and my question to you, Sushmita ji, is you talked a lot about connecting to your inner self. So, is there any process or practice that you followed during your young age to connect to your core, to yourself, right? Because you know what happens in our generation or the previous generation, we try to do these things, right? But then, suppose आज कुछ पता चल रहा है कि this is what I am today. Next 5 years, we realize that this is
Yes,
something that I don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
There is something more to life, so we try to explore something else. So एक decade हो जाता है, उसके बाद समझ में आता है कि अरे हम कहाँ थे, कहाँ से कुछ और बदले. वहाँ पे भी confusion keeps on continuing, right? That is what I have observed, right? So what you have to say about
What a wonderful question. And it's so heartening to see that young people are in the process of getting there. See, it's one thing to say you're not in the process. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a line. I mean, it's just a Gita sar. It's nothing to do with religion or Hinduism or anything. It's Parivartan hi Jeevan ka sar hai. Evolution is the only truth. Change is the only constant. Okay? So when you are going from one confusion to the other, it's a process you've reached. It's snakes and ladders. Kabhi upar gaye, kabhi niche aaye. But you're not static. See, an unexplored, boring life is not a valorous life. Your life which has to,
It's an unlived life.
yeah. So you have to be in the process. आप गाड़ी में तो बैठ जाओ, कभी आप ट्रेन से उतर जाओ, कभी दूसरी ट्रेन पे चढ़ जाओ. But at least you're in motion. Nobody knows what the actual thing is. I'm 65 years sitting. I don't know. I have no idea. I may be happy sometimes. I may be not so happy sometimes. But the core again is back to yourself. When you find you're not in a happy place, find out what is it's bothering you. I'm angry or I'm sad. What is it? No outside person is doing it. It's your own self-image, your own mirror. So this is not woo, this is not something, it is something which you have to practice. It's a sadhana. Sadhana just doesn't mean sitting in meditation or trying to close your eyes and breathe awkwardly. That's not. To observe your own reactions to situations around you. That teacher was misbehaved with me. That girl gave me a cold look. How am I feeling? Because they don't know what they did to you. You know what they did to you. They probably didn't even do it जानबूझ के. तो आपका क्या है, आपकी साधना क्या, आपकी practice क्या है as a student? Figure it out yourself. Everything is figure outable. But we don't give time to it. We are rushing from here to there. We are rushing to get more marks. We are rushing up the corporate ladder. Everyone is saying कि तुम इतने बड़े हो गए हो, काम नहीं कर रहे हो, कब पैसे लाओगे, कब शादी करोगे. Noise, noise, noise. In that noise, like she said, we're just running. Parents said do it, we are doing it. If you have to be, no person has been successful, you read any great man's life, if they have not stopped to watch themselves. We'll be like, we are in a vast machine, we are little cogs, we are running all the time. You come to see Bombay, the trains, the way we are rushing. We are paper shufflers in government offices, pardon me saying so. My father was also in the government. I'm just saying, we're paper shufflers. You're going from month to month, carrying papers from one desk to other, so that your mahine ka tumhari salary ho jaye. How much of it is how much are we putting that effort outside to our own self, to our own development, to that silence within you? So I'm very happy as a young person you've asked this question. It doesn't matter, beta, whether you right or wrong, whether you are confused. That confusion is the point where you will erupt one day. You will come out because you gave it time, you thought. You went to this. You just didn't lead your life aimlessly, mindlessly, ki sab kar rahe, hum bhi kare. You paused, and that pause is where the answer is. It's in the unknown where the future is. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Don't be afraid कि जब इसने नहीं किया, how should I do it? My mother said don't do it. It's in the unknown where every secret lies, and that's where we all have to do. All of us, at whatever age we are.
Something that Ma'am said at the beginning about how you are not a feminist but a humanist. I have been a feminist till today. I'd like you to explain more about the difference that you understand between being a feminist and a humanist.
Okay. I think when she said that, shouting from the rooftops to say, okay, so what do you understand by being a feminist? When you say I'm a feminist, who are you? You think that everything that men do is wrong? That everybody's out to get the women there? What do you understand as feminism?
We do live in a patriarchal society. Exactly.
Yes, of course. That
Being feminist by itself does not mean that everything. The typical definition of feminism is a movement that supports the development of both men and women, especially the development of women because they've been downtrodden. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see, in what you define. Yes. I was just going to say that in that definition of the book definition of feminism that you all spoke that you just spoke about, it is basically like she said, then we are all feminists because all we believe in is in self-development and in also taking. It's not like saying that, everything about everything else other than what I'm thinking is wrong, everything is wrong. And when I say humanist, what I really meant by saying that, and pardon me for this, I didn't know the book definition of feminism. But what I meant as a humanist is basically what you just defined in the sense, and I think, so therefore you see that how what is defined as feminism is convoluted in so many ways. But it's basically that we develop ourselves and continue to do so in every possible way and hold each other to go up the ladder, whether it is, it could be the ladder of life. I mean, like she's saying constantly, it's not, whether the corporate or, your personal, professional, etc. The ladder of life that we help each other, like she said, speak out, empathy, be with each other. I think that could include the men. I mean, So for me, that is what it is, to be humane to the needs and feelings of everybody around me. That to me is important.
It breaks my heart how these days the terms pseudo-feminism and feminism are being totally confused and interchanged. Like the term should be separate. Don't go by terms.
I was just going to say that. Just forget the terms. Your life, your rules.
Question, and I think not thinking about the terms is actually a privilege that people like me do not have the kind of work that we do, because I live my life defending feminism every day, and the definition is exactly what you said of being a humanist. So I think if people like you see you are the people we look up to, and people believe you and listen to you when you speak, it would be a great favor to feminists like me if you identify yourself as a feminist, because the need of the hour is for men to identify themselves as feminists.
That I agree. She's talking about the men part of it. No, Dipankar has a point. You have a point there?
I'm sure all straight men will have a point with what I say. As I said, that's every day that is what I do. But that's just a request, ma'am, that because we actually need more advocates for feminism, including men, rather than
You need an advocate for women's rights and equality, not the word feminism. I'll tell you why.
feminism is equal rights.
No, that's what I'm saying. See, understand. If you support,
Have you looked up
no, allow me finish. What happens is, and I agree with your point that this is a garb a lot of people. Unfortunately, we have a lot of negative voices around which tend to call out what she just said, feminism versus pseudo-feminism, okay? For the movement too, I am a feminist, by the way. I support my wife, all women around me in all problem areas, whether it is right or wrong. They have a voice, they need to pull that voice out. What we see is, because of certain things going wrong, the term gets tarnished. Instead of running after defending the term, run after defending what the term is. Yeah, so the essence of the background is more important than the term, is what I think even the panel is trying to say.
Yeah.
Sure, I take that blame completely. That could be mansplaining, but yeah,
Men's Rights Day. If men, as if men need, I
We need a mic too.
yeah, sure.
I'm really impressed with you all.
Yeah,
I'm really happy.
let's clap
so
for
I
them.
think the dynamics in the women's section has changed. You yourselves are examples, so I think you can clap for yourselves once again. And thank you very much for being here.